Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well, and today we're going to talk about Ehang stock, and I finally bought some shares in Ehang. So this was a company that's been on my watch list for a while. I eventually kind of stopped looking at the valuation and went, this company has the potential to be a massive billion-dollar company, and from these sort of prices, if it is successful, we could be talking about a 10x return all the way up to a 100x return on this company. It could be the next biggest sector that we see in the next kind of decade, really. So I'll be talking about Ehang, why I bought shares. I'll try and talk about the bull case on the company. I won't go as detailed into it as my last video I did. The last video I didn't even realise it was that popular. But I don't think it's a well-known company. Like, I don't know any other YouTubers that have talked about this company. So I think that might be another reason. So I mean, if it kind of people do start picking up on this company, you know, it's getting in there early, a bit like a tattooed chef, a bit like a Skills. And then when we see a lot more like Wall Street and YouTube start picking on it, we might see this valuation go up because it is a pretty decent valuation considering that this is probably the biggest growth sector in the next kind of 5 to 10 years, really. So yeah, we're going through Ehang. Like I said, it's a bit of a spec stock for me. You know, there's a lot of high risk here, but the reward on this one could be absolutely massive. So there is a bit of risk to reward going on. It's a company that I do see myself holding for a very long time and seeing how it plays out, because like I say, if it is the #1 player in its area, it'll be absolutely huge. And I never heard of this company until someone on the Discord mentioned it. And if you do want to join that, the link is in the description. I think it was Ash, so I'll give him the shout out. I'm not sure if it was him, but I think it might be. But yeah, so let's talk about Ehang. So first of all, let's talk about the sector it's in. So Ehang is involved in drones, and these could be passenger drones and also logistic drones. Now we think about the last kind of 5 years and the 5 years coming up. So obviously in transport, EVs have been the big boom in transport, and you've seen a lot of the EV companies recently do very well. You know, you look at Tesla. Tesla's commanding a valuation of like 800 billion. That's off the top of my head. It might be somewhere around there. About an 800 billion valuation right now. I think something like a NIO, I think that's like an 80 billion valuation right now. So that's commanding quite a big valuation. And even some of the smaller companies that are coming through recently, they're starting to that have like zero revenue, but because they're in that hot space, you know, some of them are commanding 15 billion valuations right now. Now, obviously this is the next boom, but if we're thinking 5 years past the EV boom, you know, the next 5 years will be massive for EVs, but what's going to be the next development in the transport space? It's probably going to be drones. So Ehang do passenger drones and also logistic drones. So when we look at the sector growth, it's going to be huge. You know, parcels being delivered by drones, saving transport time, awkward locations that they could just send a drone there, they do it in half the time. And also trying to get around the city. You know, we're kind of stuck in, you know, we have so many cities that build underground systems to try speed things up. We have obviously the normal like buses, cars, EVs to try and, you know, stop all the pollution that's going on. But what happens if we put drones in here where you can fly in a direct line rather than going around the streets and get to your location straight away? And that's another thing, you know, drones could be the next step up. You know, we don't really use aerial spaces anymore. The only thing that I'm going to say is obviously airports are the ones that will be a very tricky thing and getting the regulations passed there. But to fly at a low distance and to get there a lot quicker and to pretty much be the same price is the next development in transport. And to have a plane there, and also these guys, Ehang, the #1 players in here, could be a massive play. Now we consider the valuations that I just said on the EV side of it, and this is the thing that I kind of put me off buying Ehang, and I should have done when it was $40, $50, $60, and that was when it was about a $3 billion company. I looked at the valuation and I was like, oh, it's a lot for a company that doesn't have loads of revenue, loads of profit, even though the profit and revenue is going to explode, which we'll talk about later. I looked at the valuation of this company for a company that is in the next boom of transport, and he's the #1 player, and I'm thinking the company's valued at about 4 billion, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking 4 billion for the #1 player in the next transport boom. And you look at what valuations EVs are currently at right now, and these guys, I start running the numbers of what profit they could do, what revenue they could do, and the valuation was one thing that kind of put me off this company. And I was like, so what, you know, buy it. It's still a very cheap valuation. Go buy it. If it goes lower, I can buy more, and it's a company that I can just lock away. And when we look at the revenue, when we look at the growth sector, we are looking at a company here with Ehang that in the next 10 years could, if it is successful, which it should be, the company itself could go from a 4 billion valuation to a 40 billion valuation. And then you think, well, if it's a number one player, it could even go to a 400 billion valuation, which is, then you're like, whoa, that's crazy. So the sector growth and the valuation, when you look at the risk to reward, it's a very risky play because you're obviously waiting for regulations to be allowed with a lot of these passenger drones. But if they are all passed, it's going to be an absolute crazy sector to be involved. And that was the first thing that kind of like, when I looked at the valuation compared to what growth this could be in this industry, I was like, that's actually really impressive, and I need to get involved in this one. So what we'll do is we'll actually break down the company information and my kind of thinking, my overall opinion towards the end of the video. So first of all, let's talk about the company. So let's just talk about, first of all, the countries it's involved in. So obviously, at the moment, they're having trials in Europe, they're having trials in America, and they're also having trials in a lot of like China and also Dubai. So those countries we know are going to be the first countries that will allow anything like what Ehang's involved in. You know, we know what Europe's like. We're 20 years behind everything. So, I mean, let's just knock Europe out the window. US might be a little bit quicker, but we know we're looking at China, we're looking at, you know, like Dubai. They're going to be the first ones to pass it over the line. Now, generally, that could happen pretty much within the next kind of 12, 24 months. And that would be the very big first catalyst we see. And that would be probably the next thing that gets Wall Street interested and a lot of investors interested. That would probably be the first catalyst to go up here. Now, when we go on the passenger drone side of it, it's very interesting how this could work out, because when you think of passenger drones, first of all, you think, well, passenger drones traveling around the city make it faster. And that is the big market. If it gets there, we are talking about Ehang going to a 400 billion company. But just before that, let's talk about tourism. You know, if we have tourism, probably easy to get past the regulations because there won't be many, you know, buildings in the way and everything like that. Easier to manage because you just have a landing pad, go on a circular route, come back, and it'll be a lot easier. So the tourism space for these guys, Ehang, could be massive. And that is one thing that I would expect to get past very soon. So you kind of got the mass transport system, and you also have the tourist market, which will help it out absolutely huge, which, by the way, these drones are a decent price. They make very good margins on it, which means it will be a very profitable company. And also it's got a factory in place to be building these drones as well. And that what will help the revenue scale up absolutely huge. Now, that's the key thing for this company to go up to a 400 billion valuation. If we just skip past that and just go to the logistics side of it, Ehang are a big player in the logistics side of it. So these guys have a massive contract with DHL. You think about, well, if that goes worldwide, that's another game changer. Other companies that look what DHL are doing now with Ehang. Once again, we talk about a company that has a very successful partnership with a major brand. Other people want to get involved in it, and DHL could take this contract worldwide. And at the moment, these logistics through drones is actually being allowed in China, which is the big step forward. So I think the logistics side alone could take this company to a 40 billion valuation. When we start adding the tourism side of it, and also the actual travel around the city and transport, that's, you know, an absolute game changer. You know, we talk about could be one of the biggest companies in the world. And as well as having the drones from the logistics side of it, there's also other uses that we can look at. We think about firefighting, you know, really high-rise buildings in cities that, you know, a lot of the fire brigade struggle to get up to because it's so high up. Drones fly up, put it out nice and easy. Also, we think about emergency services. You know, if a patient needs to get somewhere very quickly, you get the drone. You don't have to get, you know, crew onto it that quick. You can get a drone to location, and then we get the passenger back to hospital. There's a lot of different uses that you start thinking, well, there's this market, this market, this market. I mean, the market altogether can be huge, but even if we don't get big, a lot of like the legalization on a lot of these drone uses, even the smaller markets make this a multi-billion company. It's just that if we do get passenger drones, which should be allowed, like I say, very soon, and it'd be very interesting to see how they are managed, and it looks like Dubai could be the first country to allow it, that could be absolute game changer. You know, we talk about a massive company here. So from the company side of it, that's pretty good. Now, when we break down the financial side of it, we can see the forecasts are looking pretty good. Now, these profits, these revenues could be anywhere. It all depends on many different factors. So we won't take it we'll take it with a pinch of salt. You know, the revenue and profit could be everywhere, but it just shows the potential market growth on this sort of company. We look at the balance sheet, it's a very healthy company as well, with plenty of cash on there. There's not that much debt on there as well. And also the founder is the biggest shareholder and the CEO of the company still, which is a massive positive for the company. So overall, I look at this company and think, I'm buying shares in the market leader, and these guys should come to market very soon. I mean, they're already there with the logistics side of it. And I've got a good management team. I've got a potential company in probably one of the sector that no one's talking about, that could be one of the fastest growing sectors in the next kind of 10 years. And I'm just buying shares here, and I'm not even really interested what goes on. And I'm there's a part of me tempted not even to put them into like portfolio reviews and just kind of lock it away for, you know, the next kind of 10 years. Because realistically, if Ehang carry on this control of the market, come first to market, we are going to be talking about a company here that is going to be worth a massive valuation. And like I say, you just compare it to some of the EV booms now and the valuations they're at, and you're buying a company that literally could be a 100 billion plus company that's currently at a 4 billion valuation, and that is really attractive to me. Like I say, there's a little bit of spec here, you know, we don't exactly know how it's going to play out. At the same time, I'm willing to just put a little bit of money here just to see how this plays out. So this is my current new spec stock in my portfolio. I think it should do quite well. Well, I hope it does quite well. And yeah, it might be one that I just buy a few more shares of over the next kind of few weeks, few months really. As long as it's around this valuation, it's not too bad at all. And yeah, just kind of lock it away and see how it does anyway. So hope you enjoyed the video on Ehang. I thought I'd let you know that I bought this company. I did buy another company as well, which I'll talk about tomorrow anyway. So hope you enjoyed it. If you could smash the like button, if you are new, make sure to subscribe as well. That'd be absolutely amazing. I'll see you in the next video.